Presence heals, absence transforms. You have heard these words before, perhaps in a whisper inside your own heart. Presence heals, absence transforms. But do you know what they really mean? Not as an idea, but as an experience. Because the difference between hearing and knowing is the same as the difference between living and merely existing. When I say presence heals, I do not mean the presence of another person. I mean your presence. The rare moment when you are truly here, not lost in memory, not projecting into the future, not hiding behind words or masks. In that moment, when you are utterly present, healing begins. Not because you do something, but because you are something. The energy that was scattered starts to come back to its center. Your being begins to remember itself. And when I say absence transforms, I do not mean escape. I mean the disappearance of the ego. When you are no longer the doer, the knower, the controller, transformation happens by itself. Just as the night transforms the burning day into silence, absence transforms the chaos of the mind into stillness. Presence heals. Absence transforms. These are not two separate truths. They are two faces of the same mystery. Presence is the seed. Absence is the flower. But the flower cannot exist without the seed. And the seed is meaningless without the flowering. You see, most people live without presence, and therefore without healing. They move through life as sleepwalkers, constantly reacting, never responding. Their minds are full, yet they are empty inside. They are always there, somewhere else. And because they are never here, they remain wounded. The wound of unawareness, the wound of disconnection from the present. Look at your life for a moment. You have done so much, tried so much, achieved so much, and still something inside remains incomplete. You carry invisible scars. They come from absence, not absence of others, but your absence from yourself. The more absent you are, the more you suffer. The more present you become, the more life starts to heal you without effort. Healing is not a process of addition, it is a process of subtraction. When you remove distractions, illusions, identifications, what remains is wholeness. That wholeness was never lost. You simply forgot to be here. You forgot to return home. And transformation, the great alchemy, begins only when you are willing to disappear. The ego says, I want to transform, but the ego cannot transform itself. The very one who says, I must vanish. That disappearance is what I call absence, the absence of you as you think you are. People come to me and they ask, Osho, how can I become enlightened? And I tell them, you cannot. But enlightenment can happen when you are not. That is the mystery of absence. Transformation does not come through effort, it comes through surrender. When you are no longer fighting with life, life begins to reshape you in its own image. Presence is the healing of the wound. Absence is the death of the one who was wounded. Presence is medicine. Absence is resurrection. Do you see the paradox? You must first become totally present, absolutely conscious, to see that the one who is conscious is not you. Then the illusion drops. You are healed of your separation, and in that healing, you dissolve into the infinite. To live without presence is to live as a shadow. To live without absence is to live as an ego. Both are diseases, one of forgetfulness, the other of attachment. The mystic path begins when you learn the art of being present and the courage of being absent. Most people fear absence. They think if they disappear, they will die. But it is the opposite. Only when you disappear as an identity does true life begin. The false dies, the real arises. Presence prepares you for that moment. Presence makes you ready to die consciously, to vanish with awareness. And this vanishing is not death. It is the greatest birth. It is transformation. So listen carefully. Presence is not a practice. Absence is not a goal. They are states of being that unfold naturally when you stop chasing and start witnessing. When you sit silently and simply watch, your breath, your thoughts, your sensations, something miraculous happens. Slowly you begin to feel yourself gathering, centering. You are healing. That is presence. And then, in that stillness, there comes a moment when even the watcher disappears. No one is there to say, I am watching. Only watchfulness remains. That is absence and that is transformation. You can feel it now, can't you? The pull towards silence, the invitation of emptiness, the subtle whisper that says, stop searching, just be. Presence heals. Absence transforms. This is not philosophy. It is the very rhythm of existence. The river cannot flow without the ocean calling it home. The breath cannot enter without the space that welcomes it. Healing and transformation are not two journeys. They are one movement of awareness. To be present is to be alive. To be absent is to be eternal. Presence connects you with life. Absence connects you with death, but not the death of the body, the death of illusion. When I say presence heals, I am not offering you a therapy. I am offering you yourself. Because presence is not something you practice like an exercise. It is something you remember. You have always been here, but you were distracted. Your eyes were open, but your vision was borrowed. You were looking through the eyes of society, of culture, of your conditioning. So the first healing happens when you reclaim your own eyes, when you begin to see without the filters of the past. And that seeing, pure, naked, innocent as his presence, in that moment your energy stops leaking through thoughts, desires, ambitions. You become one flame, unwavering. That flame is healing, because it burns away everything that is false. You may notice when you are deeply present, something strange happens. Time disappears. Minutes dissolve into eternity. The distinction between inside and outside fades. That is why presence is sacred. It brings you to the timeless dimension of being. The body may remain in the world, but your awareness is in eternity. Presence is like light. Wherever it falls, darkness disappears. Not because light fights darkness, but because darkness cannot exist where light is. Healing happens in the same way. You don't heal by fighting the wound. You heal by bringing the light of awareness to it. But you must be courageous, because awareness will reveal not only beauty, but also the ugliness you have hidden, the repressed emotions, the denied truths, the forgotten pain. Presence is a mirror that does not lie, and most people are afraid of mirrors. They would rather live in dreams than face reality. Yet without facing the wound, there is no healing, and without healing, there can be no transformation. That is why I say, presence is the beginning. It is the medicine that prepares you for the death of all illusions. The ego, the mind, the self-image, these are ghosts you have mistaken for yourself. Presence allows you to see the ghosts for what they are. Absence dissolves them. When you are truly present, the boundaries between you and existence become thin. You begin to sense the vastness around you. You begin to realize that what you called you is just a tiny wave in an infinite ocean. And one day, suddenly, that wave realizes, I am the ocean. That realization is absence. Presence takes you to the door. Absence lets you pass through it. Presence is awareness of form. Absence is awareness beyond form. The paradox is beautiful. You must be fully present before you can disappear. You must know yourself completely before you can go beyond yourself. Most people try to skip the first step. They want to be absent without ever having been present. That is why they end up empty, confused, lost in spiritual fantasies. You cannot vanish if you have never been. The ego must become transparent before it can dissolve. So first, be totally here. Feel your breath, your heartbeat, the weight of your body. Feel the moment, raw, immediate, alive. That is the doorway. And then slowly something deeper awakens. A silent watcher behind all experiences. That watcher has no name, no gender, no history. It is pure awareness. It does not belong to the world of form. That is your true self, or rather your true absence. People talk about awakening as if it was some grand event, some explosion of light, but it is far more ordinary and therefore more miraculous. It happens when the noise of the mind stops, and what remains is simple presence. Then even breathing becomes divine. A flower blooming becomes a revelation. You no longer look for meaning. Everything is meaning. And yet, this is only half of the journey. Healing is not enough. Healing is beautiful but incomplete. The wound must not only close, the one who was wounded must disappear. That is transformation. So presence prepares you. Absence completes you. One is the path of remembering. The other is the path of dissolving. Together they form the dance of existence itself. When you are present, you are in harmony with life. When you are absent, you are one with the universe. And when both are realized together, when you can be present in the world and absent in the ego, you have reached the state of the mystic. That is the balance I speak of. To live fully and yet not be bound by life. To love deeply and yet not possess. To act, and yet not be the actor. To be and yet not be. Presence heals, absence transforms. Can you feel the depth of these words now? They are not instructions, they are invitations. Invitations to experience what cannot be taught, what can only be lived. When you close your eyes tonight, try this. Stop doing everything. Do not pray, do not concentrate, do not try to meditate. Simply be. Feel the body breathing, feel the heart beating. Stay with it. Present, open. And if you are lucky, there will come a moment when even the one who is watching will fade. That is the threshold of absence. At that moment, nothing is missing, and nothing remains. You say you want to be free today, but do you? Because freedom demands that you die as you are. And most people are not ready for that. They want to change, but only a little. They want to grow, but without leaving the cage. They want transformation without disappearance. It is impossible. Presence heals. Absence transforms. But both require courage. To be present is to face everything you have avoided. To be absent is to lose everything you have clung to. Can you face your pain without escaping? Can you vanish without panic? If you cannot, then all your spirituality is decoration, beautiful words around an empty core. People come to me and they say, "Osho, I meditate, I chant, I pray, but nothing changes." And I ask them, are you present or are you just performing? Because presence is not performance, it is nakedness. You cannot be present and hide. You cannot be present and pretend. The very act of pretending means absence. Presence demands total vulnerability. It means allowing life to touch you, even if it hurts. It means not protecting yourself behind concepts, philosophies, or identities, because every protection is a wall, and every wall isolates you from life. You have created so many walls. Religion, nationality, family, profession, ideology. They are all excuses not to be present. They are strategies of avoidance. You say, "I am Christian," or "I am American," or "I am a mother," and you think you know who you are. But you are not these labels. You are the silence behind them. Presence begins when you dare to live without a label. And when that silence deepens, the boundaries between you and existence dissolve. That is absence. But even that word, absence, meant is not accurate, because something remains. The energy remains. The witnessing remains. What disappears is the illusion of the I. You are afraid of that disappearance because you have been taught to believe that without identity you are nothing. But I tell you, only when you are nothing you become everything. The mind cannot understand this paradox. The mind functions through opposites, life and death, light and dark, self and other. Absence breaks that structure. Absence is the end of duality. In absence, life and death are one dance. The dancer and the dance are no longer separate. That is why transformation is not an achievement. It is an evaporation. The caterpillar does not achieve the butterfly. It dissolves into it. It surrenders. The old form dies. The new arises. You want to become the butterfly without dying as the caterpillar. That is your misery. Presence teaches you how to die consciously. Absence is that death itself. I tell you, the most beautiful thing in existence is your disappearance. When there is no one left inside to claim, to control, to fear, only silence remains, and that silence is divine. That silence is not empty. It is full of presence, full of being, full of love. But before you can disappear, you must first see what you are not. That is why presence comes first. Be totally aware of your falseness. Watch your roles, your games, your hypocrisy. Watch your desires, your fears, your constant inner chatter. Do not judge and just watch. The watching itself begins the healing. And if you can remain as a watcher, one day even the watcher will dissolve. Then, for the first time, you will know what real freedom is. Not freedom to do, but freedom from the doer. The world teaches you to be someone. I teach you to be no one. Because only when you are no one can life flow through you unhindered. Look at the trees, the rivers, the stars. They have no ego, and yet they live in perfect harmony. You are the only creature who tries to improve upon existence. That is why you suffer. Presence heals because it brings you back to that harmony. Absence transforms because it destroys the illusion that you were ever separate from it. Look at your fear. It is always the same fear, the fear of not being. Every anxiety, every struggle, every craving hides this single truth. You are terrified of non-existence, but you have never truly examined that fear. You run away from it, covering it with money, relationships, achievements, spiritual beliefs. All of these are distractions. Have you ever sat silently, looked into your fear and said, "Come in"? That is the moment transformation begins. When you stop running, the fear loses its power, because fear can only live in absence of awareness. You see how the circle completes itself? Presence heals fear. Absence transforms it. People think enlightenment is an explosion of joy. Sometimes it is, but more often it is a quiet death. The ego dies, and for the first time, you taste reality without distortion. It is not ecstatic. It is pure. It is total. It is peace beyond the mind's comprehension. But the ego resists until the last breath. It will fight. It will cry. It will create endless distractions. And the greatest distraction is spirituality itself. The search for truth becomes the hiding from truth. I am not teaching you how to search. I am teaching you how to stop, to be still, to be here. Because in that stillness, everything you ever sought reveals itself. You have never been lost. You have only been absent. You have never been broken. You have only been asleep. You have never been unworthy. You have only forgotten how to be present. The return home begins not with effort, but with surrender. When you stop trying to be, you begin to be. When you stop holding, you begin to flow. When you stop fearing absence, you begin to transform. Presence heals. Absence transforms. Let these words echo in you like a heartbeat. Feel them not with your mind, but with your silence, because one day you will realize they were never my words. They were yours, waiting to be remembered. Love is the fragrance of presence. It blooms only when you are here, fully here. When the mind is absent, love cannot exist because love needs your awareness as soil. But when the ego disappears, when absence happens, then love is no longer something you give or receive. It becomes your very being. Presence heals the heart. Absence transforms it into the infinite. People talk about love as if it were an emotion. It is not. Emotion is a ripple. Love is the ocean. Emotion depends on the other. Love simply is. You can love without an object, just as the sun can shine without reason. When you are present, love radiates. When you are absent, only need remains. That is why most relationships are full of pain, because they are built by absent people. Two absences cannot meet. They collide. Two egos cannot merge. They fight. Each person tries to fill their inner emptiness with the other, but the other is empty too. So emptiness meets emptiness, and they call it love. True love begins only when you are present. Then you are no longer asking for love, you are love. You no longer depend, you overflow. And when you overflow, something miraculous happens. You become absent. You disappear in the act of loving. There is no lover and no beloved. There is only love. Presence heals you enough to love. Absence transforms you into love itself. When I speak of absence, I'm not speaking of cold detachment. I'm speaking of sacred disappearance. You disappear not because you don't care, but because caring has become your nature. You don't choose compassion, you are compassion. There is no one left to choose. Can you see the beauty of that? When there is no I, life itself starts to love through you. The trees breathe through you, the rivers sing through you, the stars dream through you. You become the hollow bamboo through which existence plays its song. That is absence. But before that can happen, you must stop resisting the void. Because the void terrifies the ego. It cannot imagine existence without control, without identity. It thinks that if it lets go, it will vanish into darkness. But the void is not darkness. It is pure light. It is the womb of creation. Out of that nothingness, everything arises. To die into that nothingness is the greatest act of love. It is the ultimate surrender. You are not destroyed. You are reborn as the whole. The mystics have called it by many names: nirvana, moksha, samadhi. I call it simplicity, because it is not an achievement, it is your natural state. You have just been too full to notice it. Too full of thoughts, ambitions, emotions, opinions, too full to be. Presence is the process of emptying yourself. Absence is the state of being empty. Have you ever noticed what happens when you watch the sunset with complete presence? The mind stops, the boundaries fade. For a few seconds, you are not separate from the sky. You are the sky. That is absence. It comes naturally when the heart is still. Presence brings stillness. Absence reveals infinity. The path of the mystic is the path of lovers, lovers of silence, lovers of being, lovers of the unknown. Only those who can love the unknown can disappear into it. The coward clings to form. The lover surrenders to formlessness. That is why I say meditation is the highest form of love, because in meditation you are not doing, you are dissolving. You sit in silence and let life do whatever it wants with you. You become available, receptive, open, and when you are open, the divine enters. Presence is opening the door. Absence is inviting the guest. But the guest is not outside. It is your own true being. God is not coming from the sky. God awakens from within when you are absent, because only when you are gone can the divine be present. To the mind, this seems like a loss, but to the soul, it is liberation. The one who thought I exist dies, and for the first time existence shines without distortion. That is the birth of the mystic, the rebirth of innocence. You were born innocent, but you became somebody. Now you must become nobody again. That is the full circle of life. A return to the garden, not the Garden of Adam, but the garden of awareness. Presence heals the split between you and life. Absence dissolves the wall between you and the divine. Do not think of this as philosophy. It is love in its purest form. Love without an owner, without an object, without a condition. It is not something to be practiced, it is something to be allowed. The more you relax, the more it unfolds. Sit silently sometimes and simply watch your breath. Feel it come and go. Each inhalation is presence, life entering you. Each exhalation is absence, you disappearing into existence. Between these two, the whole mystery of life and death is happening every second. Presence heals. Absence transforms. Even your breath is repeating this truth moment by moment. The mystics understood that life itself is meditation. You do not need to sit in a temple. Existence is the temple. Every sound, every heartbeat, every tear, every laugh, all are invitations to be here. And the more you are here, the more transparent you become. Eventually, only transparency remains, and through that transparency, the divine sees itself. That is the ultimate transformation, to become the mirror in which God sees God. Presence heals the mirror. Absence makes it disappear. Presence heals. Absence transforms. These are not just words. They are the entire journey of human consciousness, condensed into a single breath, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. Everything you have ever sought, love, peace, freedom, truth, it is all contained between these two states. When you are present, the wounds of the past dissolve. When you are absent, the one who was wounded disappears. Look within yourself right now. Feel your breath. Feel this very moment. Nothing else exists. The past is gone. The future has not yet arrived. Only this, the eternal now, is real. Presence is the realization of that eternity, and absence is the flowering of that realization into boundless silence. You are not here to become someone. You are here to remember what you already are. And you are not what you think. The mind says, I am. The soul whispers, I am not. And only when you surrender to that whisper does the vastness open its arms to you. People keep asking, what should I do to reach enlightenment? And I tell them, stop reaching. Enlightenment is not ahead of you, it is behind you, hidden in the simplicity of this moment. The seeker is the barrier. Presence heals the seeker. Absence transforms him into the sought. When the mind is silent, life starts to speak in its own language. The rustle of the leaves becomes a scripture. The laughter of a child becomes a prayer. The sound of rain becomes a meditation. You no longer live in separation. You are the rhythm itself. In presence you find harmony with life. In absence you dissolve into the source of life. Do not be afraid of disappearing. The false must die for the true to live. Death is not the opposite of life. It is its completion. Just as sleep completes the day, absence completes the dance of presence. The day and night of consciousness are not enemies. They are lovers embracing eternally. Presence is your awakening in form. Absence is your awakening beyond form. And yet, the beauty of it all is that you do not have to choose. You can live in both. The awakened one walks, talks, laughs, cries, fully present in the world and yet completely absent in the ego. That is the paradox of enlightenment. To be here and not here, to act and yet not act, to live and yet not be touched by life. That is what I call freedom. You will not find this freedom in scriptures or philosophies. You will find it in your own silence, when you stop asking questions and start listening. Life is speaking to you constantly, through pain, through joy, through every heartbeat. Presence heals because it allows you to listen. Absence transforms because it allows you to disappear into the song. The ultimate healing is not of the body, not of the mind. It is the healing of separation. When you see that there was never a you apart from existence, all suffering ends, not because problems disappear, but because the one who called them problems is no longer there. Then life flows as it always has, but now there is no resistance, no commentary, no judgment, only witnessing, only grace. Presence is grace in motion. Absence is grace at rest. This is the dance I invite you to, the dance of being and non-being, of sound and silence, of life and death. Don't stand outside watching. Step into it. Be the dance itself. Remember, I am not giving you a belief. I am offering you an experience. These words are only doors. They mean nothing unless you walk through them. So when this talk ends, do not rush back into the noise. Sit quietly for a moment. Let these words settle into your heart like seeds. Don't analyze them. Feel them. Let them root themselves in your silence. And then one day, perhaps when you are walking in the forest, or looking into the eyes of a stranger, or sitting alone in the dark, something will open inside you. You will feel a presence so vast that it humbles every thought. You will feel an absence so complete that nothing remains to be said, and you will understand, without effort, without conclusion, presence heals, absence transforms. This is the only teaching. The rest is commentary. So I leave you with this question, not to be answered but to be lived. Can you be fully present and at the same time utterly absent? If you can, you will discover the greatest secret of all, that healing and transformation were never two paths but one heartbeat. Be silent, be here, be nothing. Presence heals, absence transforms. If these words have touched something within you, if they have opened even a small window of stillness, then share that silence with the world. Don't preach it, be it. Let your presence be healing. Let your absence be transformation. The world does not need more teachers, it needs more silence. Be that silence.